They laughed, of course they did. They always laugh at the beginning, when you're starting out, when your vision's too big for their small minds, when your ambition threatens their comfort. They laughed at me. Said I was too loud, too bold, too risky. Said I was nothing without my father's money. Said I wouldn't make it in real estate, wouldn't make it in TV, wouldn't make it in politics. They said it all and they laughed while they said it. But guess what? They're not laughing now. They're working for me. That's what happens when you win. That's what happens when you don't quit. When you keep building while they mock you. When you move in silence and strike in public. I've seen it my whole life, the pattern. First they ignore you, then they mock you, then they try to stop you, and then they work for you. That's the cycle, and if you've got the guts to play it through, you come out on top. You see, I was never here to fit in. I was here to stand out, to dominate, to lead, and that threatens people. It shakes their safe little world. So they laugh. It's their defense mechanism. It's how weak people deal with greatness. They mock it. But here's the truth they don't want you to hear. Every laugh they throw at you is fuel. Every insult is ammo. Every eye roll is proof you're on the right path. Because if they're laughing, you're doing something they're too scared to try. I remember being the young guy in the room, walking into billion-dollar buildings with a dream, a plan, and a last name people thought they understood. They didn't know the hours. They didn't know the hustle. They saw privilege, I saw pressure. They saw a rich kid, I saw an empire that needed to be built. And I knew I had one shot to prove I wasn't just the name. I was the brand, the builder, the machine. So I moved different. While they partied, I plotted. While they mocked, I made moves. I studied blueprints at 2 a.m. I walked job sites while they were sleeping. I made the phone calls they were too lazy to make. And I kept stacking wins, slowly, then fast, then unstoppable. That's how you do it. You drown out the noise. You play the long game, you let your success slap the laughter off their faces. Trump Tower, that was the first major checkmate. They said it couldn't be done, said the location was too complicated, the politics, the zoning, the financing too much, and they laughed, but I didn't flinch. I got the permits, I got the funding, I got the deals done, and I built a monument right on Fifth Avenue in gold, and suddenly the people who laughed, they were trying to lease floors in my building. They were begging for meetings, different tone now. Then came The Apprentice, more laughter. Trump doing reality TV, what a joke. That joke became a global phenomenon. #1 on NBC, millions watching. You're fired became a cultural phrase. And those same media outlets that mocked me, they were asking for interviews, for appearances. Because once you prove you can make money in any game, they can't laugh anymore. They have to respect it. And that's exactly what I made them do. Let me tell you something, no matter how loud their laughter is today, the only sound that matters is your result tomorrow. When you win, you rewrite the story. You flip the script, you turn your critics into spectators and your spectators into employees. That's what I did again and again, not because I had something to prove, but because I refused to lose. I want you to remember something, the louder they laugh, the harder you need to work. The more they doubt, the deeper you need to dig. Don't argue with them. Don't try to convince them. Just win. Let your results speak for you. That's what I did. And now, the ones who said I couldn't do it, they follow my blueprint. They quote my books. They model their buildings off mine because power flips everything. The same architects who said Trump Tower wouldn't work, they study it now. The same politicians who said I didn't belong, they quote my speeches now. The same brands that said I was bad for business, they chase my audience now. And the same media that mocked me, they can't stop talking about me. That's the game. That's the revenge, not a comeback. They take over, they laugh, but I built. They mocked, but I moved. They hated, but I won, and now they work for me. They laughed when I lost, not just at the start, even in the middle. Even after the towers went up, even after the brand took off, even after the wind stacked up, they waited, they watched. And the second I hit turbulence, they pounced. They called me a fraud, a failure. They said it was over. Headlines written like obituaries, Trump empire crashes, the king of debt. They didn't just doubt me, they celebrated what they thought was the end. But they were wrong, because I don't break. I don't fold, I come back harder every time. Let's go back to the 90s. Real estate market collapses. The economy shifts. Suddenly the deals that made sense don't make sense anymore. Interest rates skyrocket. The banks pull back. Projects stall. And I'm sitting there with billions, that's right, billions in debt. Not one property, not one misstep. An entire empire in a pressure cooker. That's when the cowards laugh loudest, when they think the king's been knocked off the throne. But I wasn't leaving, I wasn't disappearing. I was just getting started. They said I was done. Wall Street said it. The press said it. Even people in my circle said it. Take the loss, walk away. That's what weak minds say when things get tough. But me, I suited up. I walked into every boardroom with the pressure on my shoulders and my chin up. I didn't cry, I negotiated, I restructured. I took meetings with banks that wanted me wiped out, and I turned them into partners. Because that's what winners do. They turn losses into leverage. I made tough calls. I sold what I had to sell. I preserved the assets that mattered. Trump Tower, untouchable. I knew the crown jewel couldn't be touched, not by lenders, not by lawsuits, not by fear. And while everyone else was selling their dreams for pennies, I doubled down on mine, because that's what separates me from them. I don't run from fire, I build in it. Most people would have filed bankruptcy and vanished. I didn't. I stood tall. I kept moving. I kept building. And the same people who laughed when I fell, they had no clue I was already laying bricks for the next empire. One of my greatest plays, 40 Wall Street, a beautiful building nobody wanted. Damaged, empty, overlooked, perfect. I scooped it up for a fraction. I rebuilt it. He's rebranded it, filled it. That deal alone was worth more than the critics who doubted me could dream of. You want to know what fuels a comeback? Not motivation, not hope, disrespect, humiliation, laughter. That's what lit the fire. Every time I saw my name in those headlines, I didn't get discouraged, I got angry. And that anger became movement, movement, money. Money became power, and power, that turned the laughter into silence. They love to tell you failure is final. It's not, it's data, it's strategy. Every loss showed me where to adjust. Every setback sharpened my vision. Every betrayal cut the fat. I came out of that storm leaner, smarter, deadlier. And when I came back, I didn't just come back to survive, I came back to dominate. Bigger deals, bigger buildings, bigger presence. The empire didn't just recover, it exploded. But here's what most people don't get: the respect didn't come during the fall. It came during the rebuild. People watched me take hit after hit and keep moving. They watched me face lawsuits, bankers, press attacks, and never flinch. And that's when they started to whisper. Maybe he's not done, maybe he's different. And eventually the whispers turned to respect. Because when you stare down hell and keep walking, people notice. Even your enemies, especially your enemies. And I never played the victim, never got on camera and asked for sympathy. I built quietly, relentlessly. And when the press came back asking, how did you do it? I didn't give them a sob story. I gave them a view from the top of a tower they said I'd never finish. The Apprentice? That wasn't just TV. That was a flex. That was the return. The resurrection. I took all the doubt, all the hate, all the smirks, and turned them into ratings, into brand deals, into influence. They laughed when I entered entertainment. Then I controlled it, prime time, #1. And the same producers who thought I was a gimmick, they became fans, they took notes. Some of them ended up pitching me deals. Because that's the game. You survive long enough and they can't deny you anymore. You know what happens when the guy they laughed at builds something too big to ignore? They come knocking with resumes, with offers, with partnerships, and some of them, they work for me now. They sit in the offices I own. They carry the brand I built. And they'll never admit it publicly, but deep down they know. That's what makes success beautiful. It's not just the money, it's not just the headlines. It's the reversal. It's the moment you look around and realize the same people who laughed at you are now depending on you. That's legacy, that's power. That's what happens when you don't flinch. So if you're in your failure season right now, good. That's the forge, that's where it begins. Don't run from it, don't hide, build in the storm. Work in the noise, and remember the same people mocking you now? They'll be filling out applications when your empire rises. And let them laugh, you build, they'll be back. Let me tell you something that separates winners from whiners: the mind. That's where the game is won. That's the battlefield. Not the bank, not the press, not social media. Right between your ears. If you don't control it, the world will. And believe me, the world would love to control you, to shrink you, to box you in, but I never let it. Never. I trained my mind to be stronger than the headlines, stronger than the hate, stronger than the laughter. That's why I always come back, because no matter how loud they get, my mind stays louder. Most people don't get it. They think success is about information, strategy, connections. Sure, those help. But none of it matters if your mindset is weak. If you break under pressure, if you fold the minute someone tells you no. You want to build something great? You better get obsessed with mental toughness. You better get comfortable being misunderstood, misjudged, mocked, because that's the price of greatness, and if you can't handle the noise, you'll never taste the power. From day one, I thought like a winner. Not a follower, not a victim, a winner. And I didn't wait for the world to agree. I didn't need their validation, I needed my vision, and once I had that, nothing could stop me. Not bad markets, not bad press, not betrayal. I kept moving because my mind was locked in, because I believed in myself before anyone else did. Before the towers, before the ratings, before the votes. I believed, and belief backed by work, unstoppable. Here's what you've got to understand: when people laugh at you, it's not personal. It's projection, it's weakness talking. They laugh because your ambition reminds them of their fear. Your movement reminds them of their excuses. Your work exposes their laziness, so they laugh. And if you're fragile, that laugh breaks you. But if you're built like I am, that laugh fuels you. That's the difference, that's the edge. I turned every insult into fire, every doubt into focus. When they said he'll never finish Trump Tower, I said, watch me. When they said reality TV will ruin him, I said, then I'll make it #1. When they said he's not serious about politics, I said, let's take the White House. And every time I won, because I didn't flinch. I didn't spiral, I executed with confidence, with control. That's what mindset gives you. You have to rewire how you see pain. Most people avoid it. I hunt it, I live in it, because that's where strength is built. That's where the mind is tested, when everything is going wrong and you still get up, still lead, still build. That's how I survived the debt crisis. That's how I turned collapse into comeback. I didn't say, why me? I said, try me. And I moved like I couldn't be stopped, because I couldn't. I see people today paralyzed by opinions, one bad comment and they shut down. Someone laughs at their dream and they quit. That's not a champion, that's a puppet. If your belief dies at the sound of laughter, you were never serious. I had people laugh in my face during negotiations, during campaigns, on television, and I smiled. Because I knew how it ends. It always ends the same, with them watching me win. You've got to start talking to yourself like a leader. Stop asking for confidence, create it. Earn it, feed it. I talk to myself like a champion every single day. Not with delusion, with dominance. I remind myself of who I am, of what I've built, of what I've beaten. That's what you need. You don't need therapy. You need reminders. You need to stop acting like you're lost and start moving like you're inevitable. I made a decision a long time ago. I'm not here to be liked. I'm here to be respected, and respect doesn't come from playing nice. It comes from playing to win, from setting standards so high that people have to pay attention. That's how I built my name. That's how I kept it sharp. People might hate it, but they never ignore it. And that's the goal, not love, legacy. You've also got to be your own engine. Stop waiting for people to push you. Push yourself. Every morning I wake up with one question: what are we building today? I need my name, my purpose, my empire. That's what moves me, and if that doesn't move you, you're not serious, you're not hungry, and you'll never make it. You have to train your mind to operate at a level others can't even imagine. Think bigger, think faster, think longer. That's how I survived decades in business. That's how I beat the media. That's how I walked through fire and came out in a suit. Because I don't react emotionally, I respond strategically. I don't cry, I calculate, I don't panic. I plan, and that's what mindset does. It makes you a machine. I've seen it time and time again. People with talent, with resources, with everything but no mindset. And they crumble, because the second life hits them in the mouth, they can't recover. They weren't prepared mentally. They were built for applause, not adversity.
Me?
I was built for adversity, I was built for pressure. And when it comes, I smile, because I know I'm about to level up again. That's the energy you need. That's how you flip the laughter. You don't argue, you don't defend. You just win, over and over again, till the room is full of people who used to mock you, now quoting you, now copying you, now trying to stand next to you. That's real revenge. That's real respect. And it all starts here in the mind. So decide, right now, are you going to keep asking for validation? Or are you going to become the type of person they can't laugh at anymore? The type of person they can't ignore? The type of person they end up working for? It's not about being the smartest, the most talented. It's about being the most unshakable. I've built towers, empires, a presidency, all on the back of one thing: mindset. So build yours, because when your mind's unstoppable, everything else follows. Here's the truth: nobody tells you the world doesn't give respect. You take it, you earn it, you build it brick by brick, deal by deal, move by move. And if they laugh, good, that's proof you're building something bigger than their little minds can comprehend. But laughter alone won't make them respect you. You need action, strategic, relentless action. That's how I went from that guy, we'll never make it, to, can we get on a call with Mr. Trump? Let's talk about execution, because belief is the spark, but execution is the fire. I didn't just believe I'd be great. I planned it, I built it, I showed up when most guys would have stayed in bed. I read deals most people didn't understand. I negotiated with sharks. I stood in rooms where nobody wanted me to win, and I won anyway. Not because I was lucky, because I was prepared, because I never stopped moving. That's the Trump difference. Relentless forward motion. You want to turn mockery into respect? Start stacking real wins. I don't care how small they are. Build something, a brand, a business, a body, something visible, something undeniable, because people respect proof. I turned a family name into a global brand by staying consistent. Trump Tower wasn't just a building, it was a signal, a message to the world, I'm not here to play small. You want respect, you make a statement and you follow through. I mastered the art of leverage. While they were laughing, I was negotiating. While they were sleeping, I was closing. That's how I bought 40 Wall Street for a fraction and turned it into a trophy asset. They said it was a dump. I saw cash flow. I saw positioning. That's what winners do. They see what others ignore, and they move when others stall. You need to build assets, and I'm not just talking buildings. I mean anything that multiplies your influence, your income, your identity. The Apprentice, that was an asset. Primetime TV with me front and center every week. Not just for fame, for positioning, for power. Every episode was marketing, every boardroom scene was branding. You don't get opportunities like that, you create them. You engineer them with execution. They laughed when I went into politics too. Remember that? They called me a joke, a distraction, he'll never win. But they didn't understand what I understood. People respect strength. People follow clarity. So I took what I learned in business speed, strategy, dominance, and I applied it to the system. I made it work for me. I turned the country into a deal. I flipped the narrative and I won because I didn't wait for the right moment. I made the moment. You need to become undeniable. That's the goal. Not nice, not liked, undeniable. They don't have to love you, but they'll have to deal with you. That's what I built, and you build that by stacking execution, by turning every you can't into a watch me. You think the New York Times ever wanted to put me on their front page? Of course not, but I made them through wins, through movement, through presence. Stop waiting to be picked. Pick yourself. That's what I did over and over. I didn't wait for an invite. I built a table, I built a building. I put my name in gold, and suddenly all the people who laughed, they were asking for seats. That's what action does. It flips the script, it reprograms the room. Your legacy is built in execution, not in ideas, not in potential, in proof, in actual moves. People laughed at me when I was in debt. They laughed when I walked into network meetings. They laughed when I filed for office. Now they echo my speeches, they use my slogans. They try to replicate my blueprint. That's the game. You win so big they have no choice but to follow. You know how many people who mock me now quote me in their books? Now study my branding, now pitch my team to work with me. That's what you're playing for, not just to come back a full takeover. And that only comes from relentless, focused execution. So what do? You take the hits, you take the jokes, you take the underestimation, and you use it. You use it to grind, to sharpen your edge. And then you move. Every day you don't whine. You don't wait, you don't stop, you build. You launch, you win big. So big, they can't deny it. So big, they forget they ever laughed. So big, they start pretending they supported you all along. That's the goal. That's the revenge. That's the power move. Let them laugh. You keep building because in the end, they'll work for you and you'll never forget who laughed first.